In today's video, I'm going to run you through 5 simple tips that you can implement out on a golf course straight away that are going to massively help you improve your game. Now, be sure to stick around till tip number 5, as that is my secret weapon and you definitely do not want to miss that. So without further ado, let's jump into tip number 1. Tip number 1 is you have to relax. I see so many golfers get way too tense over the golf balls. You'll see the white knuckles, you'll see the forearms tense up, and from there it's going to be so hard to have a repeatable swing. Now, if you listen to a lot of the Hall of Fame golfers, someone like a Sam Snead, he used to say that relaxing down, having a tension-free look is one of the biggest keys to his golf swing. And there are so many advantages that come with this. You'll be able to suddenly have a lot more control over the club head. You'll be able to set your wrists a lot better. You'll be able to rotate better, able to hold angles on the way down and release the club. As well as that, you're also going to increase your club head speed. Relaxed muscles are fast muscles. So let's give you 2 ways that you can sort of relax yourself down, take out that tension so you can have that sort of tension-free, effortless golf swing. So the first way is by just holding the club up in front of you, shaking out your arms, shaking out your shoulders and doing some mini little circles. Now when you do this, you'll feel your arms be nice and relaxed, your wrists will feel sort of oily, and from there you'll be able to see that you can get some nice movement in the club head. So essentially I've got good movement, good mobility, but I've got a good enough grip pressure to where I can still maintain control over this club head. Now, what about when you're over the ball? Well, to prevent you from sort of stiffening up as you're over the ball, you'll see a lot of golfers do waggles. So these little waggle movements, Brian Harman, Open champion this year, if you look at him, he's doing a whole lot of little waggles on there, and that's going to keep the wrist nice and relaxed. So from there, he's able to then pull the trigger, swing, and have that tension-free look. Let me show you what that should look like. So I'm going to go here, a couple of waggles, and then I'm going to pull the trigger. So tip number 2 is that your shoulders control club path, not your feet. Now, when I tell a lot of people this, they get a little bit confused. They're like, what does that mean? Well, if we think of the golf swing as sort of like a chain, and that chain goes from the club head all the way up the shaft, up the arms to the shoulders, and then all the way down to the feet. So it's just a singular chain. That chain right there, you will find that whatever is closest to the club head on that chain will have the most effect over the club. So the shoulders are obviously a lot closer on that chain to the club head than the feet. That means that the shoulders are going to control path a lot more than the feet. Just to show you this, I can set up, if I bring the downline view in, with my feet way open and my shoulders way closed. So my feet are pointing a long way left, my shoulders are pointing a long way to the right. Where does this ball go? It goes right. Now if I do the opposite, if I close my feet and open my shoulders, where does the ball then go? You can see the path took it left, I left the face open, and it started to slice back to the right. So you can see actually my club path is very much influenced over by my shoulders, not my feet. So with that in mind, when we're out on a golf course, why don't we use our shoulders as sort of like our laser pointer for where we want our path to go? So for example, I have the 175-yard sign out there. If I'm trying to hit a little bit of a draw, I can set up with my feet relatively square, slightly closed. That's all personal preference. But if I point my shoulders so they're pointing just to the right of the 175, I know that's going to promote more of an in to out path. That's going to help me hit a little bit more of a draw shape, or if I'm a slicer, it's going to help me nullify down that slice. What if I want to hit a little bit more of a fade, or what if I naturally hit a little bit more of a hook shot? Well, take that same 175-yard sign, I'm going to get my shoulders pointing a little bit more to the left. So again, this is going to help me swing a little bit more left, help me control that hook, ultimately take control over the club path. So if I do that for you right now, I'm going to try and hit a little bit of a draw to the 175. I'm going to feel like as I set up here, my feet are relatively square, but then I'm just going to close my shoulders off. Get my shoulders pointing just to the right of that 175. Let me show you what that will look like here, see if I can get that path working in to out. And that has produced about a 5-yard draw. Now, what if I want to do the opposite? What if I want to hit fade? Well, if I go more this way, I'm going to set up. I am going to open my feet just to help me rotate a little bit more and get everything left. But the key thing is that the shoulders point a little bit more left of the 175. That's going to get my path going more left. Remember, club path follows shoulders, helping me produce a little bit more of a fade. And that has about 2 or 3 yard fade right there. So you can see how shoulders control the path. Tip number 3 is to pick a spot. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, if you look at someone like Rory, when he is hitting an iron shot, he has openly said that he'll pick a spot about an inch or two past the golf ball, so sort of where the butt end of the grip is right there. Now, the great thing about this is going to promote that ball and then ground strikes. So it's going to move that low point forwards. We call these external swing thoughts. So by having that spot past the ball, suddenly it sort of declutters your mind from all these maybe hundreds of swing thoughts you have in your head, and it allows you just to pick that spot there and go, right, my intent is to hit the ball and then to hit that spot. That is going to promote you shifting your low point forwards. Now, is it going to fix everything? No, but it's a great swing thought to have out on the golf course. Now, a second version of this that I actually use with my driver is I see a lot of people struggle when it comes to driver because they sometimes top it, they sometimes hit it too low in the face. So a swing thought that I love players to have is to try and sweep the tee. So you're trying to hit the tee essentially. Now, obviously, don't take that the wrong way. We're not trying to hit down on it if it's a driver. We're just trying to sweep that tee out of the ground. If you do sweep the tee, it's going to promote a strike that's going to be a lot more in the middle of the face. But anyway, back to irons. So I'm going to imagine there is a spot on the ground past the golf ball. I'm then going to set up, and my intent's going to be, right, hit the ball and then the spot. That's going to promote me shifting that low point forwards, helping me fix any thin shots, but also helping me fix any fat shots. Let me give it a go for you right here. I've got a spot right there. I'm still looking at the ball, so I'm not looking at the spot, but I can sort of imagine that spot's right there in the back of my mind and see it somewhat in my periphery. Tip number 4 is to start your swing with a trigger. Now, what is a swing trigger? A swing trigger is a dynamic movement that helps us kickstart our swing. If you look throughout history, you will see loads of different types, but I'm going to focus on 2 main ones today. The first one is more of, say, like a Rory McIlroy swing trigger, to where he pushes in and out of his left foot to start the swing. The second one is, again, a very similar sort of movement, but it's the Gary Player, sort of more leg kicking. You'll see like a modern day example being like a Matthew Wolff, a lot more exaggerated. But again, it starts your swing with momentum. Now, firstly, why is this important? Well, I see so many amateurs, they get stuck. And again, part of it is they spend way too long over the ball, but another part of it is they just don't know how to take the club back, and that's okay. You know, it is sometimes quite daunting when you're out there, you've got so much going on in your mind. You need that swing trigger just to free you up and kickstart that swing with some momentum. So let's firstly talk about the Rory one. So Rory, what he will do is he'll sort of push into his left foot and out. So just a very subtle in and out movement. Now, just make sure as you're doing this, you don't go too crazy with it. You don't suddenly start to sway off the ball. It's sort of very much a pressurizing, unpressurizing. So just in, out. He's sort of going left foot to then right foot. Now, this just helps kickstart the swing with a little bit of momentum. So again, that's a great example. Oh, drop the club. That's a great example for you to have. So just in, out. The second one, and this is the one that I like, and especially for players that do struggle with swaying, this is the swing trigger I use. So it's the Gary Player knee kick-in. Reason why I say Gary Player is I think he was the one that came up with it, but don't quote me on that. He's just one of the most famous examples of it. Now, the way this one works is it's sort of a combination of the body turning open, hands pressing forwards, knee kicking in. So the way it would work is you're here, it's a little bit of a right side kick in, so you can see my right leg kicks in, I have a little bit of a forward press, chest might open slightly, and then from there, I will turn out of the shot. So it's a very much in, out, and that just starts the swing again with some momentum. So let me show you what that one looks like. This is more of the swing trigger I use. Again, it'll be in, out, and that's what gets me starting the swing with some momentum. Key number 5 is having a go-to shot. Now, a go-to shot is one of the most important shots that you have to have in your locker. Now, most good players will have a go-to shot, and it will look something along the lines of, say, like a 3/4 mini punch shot. Now, the great thing is you can hit this with any club. I hit this with my driver, I hit this with my irons, my 3-wood, every single club. And essentially what it does is it comes out a little bit lower, a little bit less spin, and it gets out there in a nice straight fashion. It's not going to curve anywhere near as much. So it just has a lot more control to it. Now, how do I go about playing this? Well, just know that when I do this, I do exactly the same changes when I hit a driver or a 3-wood. The only difference is when I'm hitting a driver, I'll tee it down a little bit lower as well. But let me show you what it looks like with an iron. So the first thing that I'll do is I want control in this situation. So I'm just going to grip down on the club by maybe 1/2 inch. Now, from there, I'm going to move the ball slightly back in the stance. As a result, that's going to move move my path slightly to the right. So just to counteract that, I'm just going to open my stance slightly. The further you move it back, the more you got to open your stance. Then from there, once I've done that, all I'm then going to do is just put a little bit more weight on my left leg. So let me do that one more time. Grip down, ball back slightly, at the same time open the stance slightly, a little bit more weight on the lead leg. Now from there, my swing thought is very much pivot around the lead leg and go wide to wide. And it's, as you can see, it's a little bit more of a 3/4 swing. But what I'm doing here is wide to wide. This is going to make it so much easier for me to control everything. Yes, the ball's not going to go as far. It's going to come out a little bit lower, but we're going to have a lot more control. Let me show you what that looks like right here. So grip down, weight forwards, a little bit open stance, ball slightly back, and then wide to wide. And you can see there, really awesome strike. If you could see the trajectory, it's come out a lot lower. It'll probably fly about 10 yards less. This is a 9-iron, usually carries around 155, 160. That probably carried about 145, 150, but again, it's gonna get me in play. Same thing with the driver, same exact way, but when you're doing it with the driver, just tee it down slightly lower. You can still favor a little bit more weight on that lead side. And again, it is a little bit, it's nothing too crazy, and it's a pivot around the lead leg, wide to wide. Develop that go-to shot and it is going to rescue you so many times. So there you have it. Those are 5 simple tips that you can implement into your game straight away and you are going to see some good results. And the great thing is you can do it with any club, and that's what I wanted to sort of get at with this lesson, is it's very much you can use these across the board, not just with one club. Now, if you have enjoyed today's video, please give it a like and subscribe, and I hope to see you back here soon.